Hi, this is Jane from Bead Crumbs. Today I'm going to attempt to show you how I make this Sakura or cherry blossom charms. Normally I use size 11 delicacy beads, and for the little bead tips, the little accents, I use size 15 delicates, but because the beads are so tiny and so hard to see and my fingers get in the way, I am going to make a funny looking sakura flower using perler beads, just so you can follow along. Okay, so I'm going to start by making the center or the base row of the flower. I'm going to string on 5 beads, just like this, and these will be the size 11 beads. Okay, I'm stringing on 5 beads, and from the tail end I'm going to insert my needle right through all 5 beads and pull. I'm using about 2 feet of the fire line thread. Okay, so I have my 5 beads on. I pull the thread snug, and right next to this stopper bead, I'm going to insert my needle into that 1 bead and pull. Make sure my thread doesn't get in the way. Okay, and I'm gonna pull just like that. Whoops, my camera's moving. And then into the next bead and pull just like that. Okay, I'm not going to tie a knot right now, but if you want to, just maybe make I think it's called a half hitch knot, you can do so, but I'm just going to continue making my petals. Okay, so I start my petals, this is my first one, by picking up 2 beads, and I'm going to, on this is going to be my first bead for my first petal. This is the base row. I'm sticking my needle into that purple bead. Oops, 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 oops. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so 2 beads on my thread. Stick my needle up that purple bead and pull. Okay, so it's not sitting very nicely. So what I'll do is I will stick my needle into the first bead, that top bead, just like that, and down the second bead, and I'm gonna circle back around into that first bead and pull. So now the beads are sitting nice and snug next to each other. Okay, now I'm gonna do a brick stitch row, an increasing brick stitch row. I pick up my 2 beads to start, anchor under that first thread bridge. If you need a review on basic bead weaving stitches, I have an earlier video. Okay, so I'm gonna wiggle it a bit. Now I go up the second bead, and pull. Pick up the last bead. Now normally we would anchor to that thread bridge right there, the one that we used to anchor the previous two beads. But for this project, I'm gonna go right through the bead below, pull. I'm going to go back through that purple bead, the first bead for this petal, pull, and back up the bead, the two beads on the left edge, and pull. Okay, so there's my petal starting to form. Again, the next row would be increasing brick stitch. So the first thread bridge, again I picked up two beads under the first thread bridge, up the second bead, pull, pick up the next bead under the next thread bridge, pull, up that bead that I just added. Okay, and finally the last bead for this row. Okay, so again I'm gonna pass my needle right down the bead below. Okay, so there we go. Now I want to start my next row from this bead right here. So like any other bead weaving project, to get to that bead that I want, I am just gonna find a way to get there by weaving through my beads and hiding my thread so I can get to my target bead. Doesn't matter where you go, just as long as you get there and as long as you hide your thread. Okay, so there we go. Now I want to start my next row, which is, it's going to be decreasing brick stitch. So skip the first thread bridge under the second thread bridge, up the second bead, down the first bead, and back around up into that second bead and pull. Okay, so now my last bead for this row, I'm gonna go under the next open thread bridge, pull, and go back up, pull. So the petal is nearly finished. I like to work from left to right, so I flip my beadwork. I'm gonna make a bead tip. Let's see, I am going to try by using this round seed bead. So I'll have a colorful Sakura blossom. Okay, so I'm making the bead tip. I just picked up that round bead. For this you would be using normally size 15 delica. Okay, so I go down that middle bead, right through that middle bead on the top, up through that first bead to secure. I'm going to go back through that bead tip and back down that middle bead. Now I'm going to go back up. I'm going into that last bead because I want to add another bead right here. So pick up the green and down that center bead again. I'm going to secure by going back up that last bead, pulling tight, and back through the bead on the top. And now I would like to exit. My target bead would be this red bead on the first row on the left. Okay, I need to get down there. So again, I weave through my piece. Doesn't matter where I go, as long as I can exit through that bead right there. So I'm going through there. Okay, so that's where I want to be, exiting right through that bead. Okay, now I'm going to pass my needle right through that purple bead, the first bead that I started with to make this petal. So right through that purple bead, my tail is on this side, on the left side. I enter through the left side through the purple bead. I'm exiting out the right side, and this is where I'm going to make a knot. Okay, so I hook my thread under this bridge between this first bead, and this is where I'm going to start my next petal. So right between there, I am going to hook my thread under, make this loop, and stick my needle through that loop and pull. And that's my knot to secure my first petal. Then I'm going to go to the second purple bead for my second row, my second petal. And again, I do the same thing. Pick up 2 beads to start through that purple bead. Okay, so it's not very pretty. I'm going to stick it through that second bead, down the first bead, up the second bead, just like that, and you see, pull tight, pull snug, and now the beads are sitting nicely together. Okay, now let's see, I'm going to flip my work to start again, left to right, and make my new row. Again, increasing brick stitch, okay, now I'm going right through the purple bead that started it all, Okay. Back up the 2 beads. Increasing once again under the thread bridge. And the last one, down through the bead below, and I want to exit through this bead on the top. Okay, so now a decreasing row, decreasing second thread bridge, up the second bead, down the first, around, back up the second, and under the next open thread bridge. Okay, so I'm gonna flip my work. Gonna make my bead tip, down that middle bead, up the first bead to secure, back through the bead tip, down through the middle bead. I want to exit up from the bead on this right edge to make my next tip. So down the center bead, I'm going to circle around one more time just to make it tight and secure, back through that tip, and I want to exit this red bead right here. Okay, so again I weave through, doesn't matter where, just so I get down to that red bead on my first row. Okay, so this is the tail. I'm exiting out that red bead on the tail side. I'm going to insert my needle through that purple bead that started the second petal. Just pull, make it snug, and I'm going to knot it right here. So again, I go under that bridge, I make a loop, go through the loop, and pull. Okay. To start my third petal, I'll go through that third bead on the base row and repeat. Pick up 2 beads, circle around, so go through that purple bead, back up that second red, down the first red, up that second red, and pull snug. And again, I like to flip. Now I continue to build my row, increasing brick stitch, decreasing, make that bead tip, and just continue until you finish 5 petals, and I'll see you back then. Hi, welcome back. I hope you had fun doing your petals. I'm adding the last bead for my 5th petal. Okay, so to review, I picked up my bead. I'll go down the center, push it right through, back up the first bead on the edge, so that's the bead on my left side, pull it, and I'm going to pass it right through. Okay, now we're going to work to join the petals together so it's not going to be open. I need to exit, let's see, I'm going to exit from this bead right here on the edge, and I'm going to connect this petal to this petal right here. Yeah, I'm going to work this way. So I think the best way to go would be, again, down the center. I'm going to weave through. I'm going to weave through this bead, and I'm going to exit out from this bead. I'm going to join the petals with the same green bead that I used as on the tip. It'll be the size 15 bead when you're working with your delica. I'm going to circle around, so right across the bead that's sticking out, I'm going to pass my needle through that bead, just like that, and I'm going to pull the bead together, pull the petal together, going through the first petal from the bottom, and I'm going to pull. Okay, now I'm going to pass through that same green bead, and I want to add a jump ring right here. So this is pretty big, but it'll show you how I add the jump ring. So I'm exiting out from that green bead. I pick up my jump ring, and I'm going to circle around. So I'm going to make a loop, and I'm circling right around, and I'm tightening the jump ring onto that bead. I'm going to circle around one more time, right through the jump ring once again, and back through the bead. Just like that. So my jump ring is now on. Okay, so I'm exiting from that green bead that connected the petals together, and I want to get to this bead on this edge right here. So once again, I circle through, I weave through actually, so I'm going to hide my thread and weave through all the beads. Okay, if you see a gap like this that you don't like, see, do you see it? Now you can circle around and close that gap. And then I continue to weave through until I get to the bead on the edge. Okay. I'll add another bead to connect my rows. Down and circle around, back up. Back through the green. Down. Back up. And back through the green. Okay, now this is the next bead that I want to get to. So once again, I weave through. Okay. Pick up my bead from the top and go right through. It's okay if you start to rule, exiting from rather than the top of the bead, and you exit from the bottom, as long as you circle around to connect the rows, and it'll be fine. So back to the green, so I circle around 2 times. Well, actually it's sitting nicely, so I'm just gonna pull it tight right here. I won't go around again, and again I weave through. So this is my target, right on this edge, and once again I weave through. Okay, see how the flowers being squished together? Okay, go right across, right through, back up, back through, down, and weave through. Okay, for the final petal, going across, circle around, pull, pass through the green, back down, and pull. Okay, so here's my flower. Okay, so I finished attaching my last bead onto the petal, and I'm exiting from this bead right here from the bottom. What I want to do is get to the center. My flower is so closed up, it's hard to work with from the inside, so I'm going to work from the outside. I'm passing my thread through to get to the outside. All right, I need to get down to this base row where the purple beads are so I can end my beadwork. I'll just pass my needle right through and get to the purple bead on the bottom. I'll pass it through one of the purple beads, the one closest to this petal, and this is where I start knotting my beadwork once again to end my piece. So again, I make that loop, pass my needle through the loop. I'll do it one more time. And I can weave through. If I feel it's still loose, I can continue to knot. I'll go ahead and thread this tail and make some knots again through, passing through the purple, knotting. Then I cut the thread close to the tail, and then I'm done. Here's my giant red and green and purple sakura flower. Here's the size 11 sakura flower. I hope this video was clear enough so you too can make your own little flower. Thank you for watching. Bye.